stared at the email on my phone, reading it 3 times before my hands started shaking. "We've decided to redirect your college fund to support your brother's new business venture. We know you'll understand. Love, Mom and Dad." $12,000. Gone, just like that. No phone call, no conversation. Just a cold email sent at 11 at night like they were canceling a subscription service. I sat there in my dorm room, textbooks spread across my desk, scholarship applications half-finished on my laptop. My roommate was out, so nobody heard the sound that came out of my throat. It wasn't quite a laugh and wasn't quite a sob. I'd worked 2 jobs all through high school. I'd maintained a near-perfect GPA. I'd done everything right, and they just gave my future to Marcus. Again. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button now. Your support means everything to me. If you've ever felt underestimated by your own people around you, you'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. Marcus was 25, 3 years older than me, and somehow still living in our parents' basement. This was his 4th business idea in 2 years. The first one was a cryptocurrency investment scheme that lost money within weeks. The second was a fitness app he never actually built. The third was some kind of dropshipping store that he abandoned after ordering sample products. Now he wanted to open a coffee shop. Not just any coffee shop, but a revolutionary concept that would change the industry. My parents ate it up like he was the next Steve Jobs. I called my mom the next morning, my voice surprisingly steady. She answered cheerfully like nothing had happened. "Sweetheart, how are classes going?" I asked her about the email. There was a pause. Then she sighed like I was the one being difficult. "Your brother really needs this opportunity, honey. You have your scholarship. You'll be fine." The scholarship covered tuition. Barely. It didn't cover rent, food, books, or the medical supplies I needed for my nursing program. That's what the college fund was supposed to be for. The money my grandmother left specifically for my education when she died. My mom's voice got that tight quality it always did when she was done with a conversation. "Marcus has such potential. He just needs the right support system. You've always been so independent and capable. We knew you could handle this." There it was, punishment for being responsible. I'd been handling things on my own since I was 14 because they were always too busy managing Marcus's latest crisis. Now I was being penalized for it. "I need that money," I said quietly. "I know it seems hard right now, but family supports family. Your brother is finally ready to make something of himself." I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my friends, not my boyfriend, nobody. I just started picking up extra shifts at the campus library and cut back on meals. Ramen for breakfast, ramen for dinner, nothing for lunch. I told myself it was temporary. I'd figure something out. But every time I opened my banking app and saw my balance dropping, I felt that email burning in my mind. "We knew you'd understand." 2 weeks later, Marcus posted photos on social media from the lease signing of his coffee shop space. My parents were there, champagne glasses raised, huge smiles on their faces. My mom had commented with 5 heart emojis and so proud of my successful son. I noticed I wasn't tagged in any family photos anymore. Hadn't been for months, actually. When had that started? I scrolled back through my mom's profile. Every post was about Marcus, his ideas, his potential, his dreams. My childhood bedroom had been converted into an office for my dad 6 months after I left for college. Marcus still had his room untouched, like a shrine. That's when something cold settled into my chest. Not anger exactly, something quieter. I started documenting everything. I took screenshots of the email. I saved every text message. I made a spreadsheet of every family event I'd been excluded from over the past year. Thanksgiving, where they'd celebrated at a restaurant I couldn't afford to travel to. Christmas, where my gift was a $50 Amazon card while Marcus got a laptop. Easter, where they didn't even tell me they were having dinner until after it was over. "We thought you were busy with school," my mom had said. I was building a case without even knowing what I planned to do with it. I just needed proof that I wasn't imagining things, that this was really happening. Marcus's coffee shop opened 2 months later. It was called Grounded Dreams, which I thought was accidentally honest. My parents flew out for the grand opening. They didn't fly out for my Dean's List ceremony that same week. I saw the photos online. There was a local news segment. My dad gave an interview about supporting young entrepreneurs and believing in your children's vision. I watched it on my phone during my break at my third job. I'd started doing medical transcription work at night, typing until my fingers ached. I was sleeping 4 hours if I was lucky. My grades were slipping, not failing, but slipping. B's instead of A's. My advisor noticed. "Is everything okay at home?" she asked. I lied and said everything was fine. What was I supposed to say? That my parents chose my unemployed brother over my education. That I was drowning while they celebrated his mediocrity. The coffee shop started failing almost immediately. Overpriced drinks, bad location, no business plan. I could have told them this would happen, but nobody asked me. Marcus started posting vague complaints on social media about how hard entrepreneurship was. My mother commented endless encouragement. "You've got this, baby. Rome wasn't built in a day." 3 months in, I got another email. This one from my dad. They were taking out a second mortgage on their house to keep the coffee shop afloat. They wanted me to know so I wouldn't worry about our finances. The irony was so thick I could taste it. They'd gutted my future to fund Marcus's fantasy, and now they were risking their own security to keep it on life support. And somehow they thought I'd be concerned about them. I wasn't. I was furious. But I still didn't say anything. I just kept working, kept studying, kept surviving. Then my grandmother's sister reached out. Aunt Diane was 83 and sharper than anyone I knew. She'd heard through family gossip about the college fund situation. She called me directly. "Your grandmother would be horrified," she said without preamble. "That money was meant for you. She put it in writing." My heart stopped. "What do you mean in writing?" There was a pause. "The trust documents. Your parents are named as trustees, but there were conditions. The money was specifically allocated for your educational expenses. Marcus wasn't supposed to touch it." I sat down slowly on my bed. "Can they do that? Just take it?" Aunt Diane's voice got hard. "Not legally, no. Your grandmother didn't trust your parents' favoritism. That's why she set it up as a restricted trust. If they've diverted those funds, that's a breach of fiduciary duty." The room felt like it was tilting. I met with a lawyer 3 days later, a family law attorney who did a free consultation. I brought my laptop with all my documentation, the email from my parents, screenshots of Marcus's social media showing the coffee shop, bank statements showing where my grandmother's trust had been. The lawyer, a woman in her 50s named Ms. Patterson, looked through everything methodically. When she finished, she sat back and folded her hands. "This is pretty clear-cut," she said. "Your parents violated the terms of the trust. You have grounds to sue for the full amount plus damages." My mouth went dry. "Sue my parents?" She looked at me carefully. "I know it's hard, but they stole from you. That's what this is. They took money that was legally designated for your education and gave it to your brother for a business venture. That's theft and breach of trust." I felt sick and validated at the same time. I didn't decide right away. I went back to my dorm and stared at the ceiling for hours. Suing your own parents wasn't something normal people did. It would destroy whatever was left of our relationship. My extended family would probably take their side. I'd be the villain who couldn't just let things go, who couldn't support her brother's dreams, who was selfish and petty and vindictive. But then I thought about eating 1 meal a day, about falling asleep during lectures because I was working until 3 in the morning, about my mom's cheerful voice saying I'd be fine, about being erased from family photos, about my childhood bedroom turned into office space while Marcus's stayed untouched, about being told I was too independent and capable to need help. I called Ms. Patterson back the next morning. "Let's do it," I said. My voice didn't shake at all. We filed the lawsuit quietly. My parents were served papers at their home on a Tuesday afternoon. My mom called me 17 times in an hour. I didn't answer. When I finally picked up, she was crying. "How could you do this to us, to your own family?" I stayed calm, calmer than I'd ever been. "You took my college fund, Grandma's money that was meant for me. You gave it to Marcus without asking. You broke the law," she spluttered. "We're your parents. We know what's best. Marcus needed help." "And I didn't." The silence stretched out. "You've always been fine on your own," she said finally, and something in her voice said she actually believed it. That's when I realized she'd convinced herself that neglecting me was the same as trusting my independence, that my success despite their favoritism proved I didn't need them. She'd rewritten reality to make herself the hero. My dad called an hour later. He was angry instead of sad. "You're tearing this family apart over money. Do you know how that makes you look?" I almost laughed. "I'm tearing it apart. I'm not the one who stole $12,000 from their daughter's education fund." He tried a different approach, softer. If you drop this, we'll pay you back, eventually, when the coffee shop starts turning a profit. When will that be? I asked. Silence. We both knew it would never turn a profit. Marcus's business was a bonfire of cash. You're destroying your brother's dream, my dad said. His voice had an edge now, almost threatening. Your brother's fourth dream in 2 years, I corrected. The one you funded by stealing from me? No, the lawsuit stands. He hung up. 10 minutes later, Marcus texted me. It was the first time he'd contacted me directly in 6 months. Hope you're proud of yourself. That was it. No denial, no apology, just blame. The legal process moved slowly. Discovery, depositions, paperwork. Ms. Patterson was thorough. She found everything. The original trust documents from my grandmother with explicit instructions that the money was for my education only. Bank records showing the transfer to Marcus's business account. Text messages between my parents discussing how I'd be fine without the money. Every piece of evidence made their betrayal more deliberate, more calculated. This wasn't a misunderstanding. They'd known exactly what they were doing. My mom had even texted my dad. She's so capable, she won't even notice it's gone. I noticed. I noticed every single day when I was exhausted and hungry and struggling. But they'd been so focused on Marcus that my suffering was invisible to them. Or maybe they just didn't care. Maybe I'd been the sacrificial child all along, and it took hitting rock bottom for me to see it clearly. My extended family started weighing in. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had opinions. Family doesn't sue family. You're being selfish. Your parents did their best. Aunt Diane was the only one who defended me. She sent a scathing email to the family group chat that I wasn't part of but heard about later. She'd apparently outlined every instance of favoritism she'd witnessed over the years. Every time they'd missed my events for Marcus's. Every time they'd praised his mediocrity while dismissing my achievements. That girl raised herself, Aunt Diane had written, and you all sat by and watched them erase her. Now she's fighting for what's legally hers and you're mad at her instead of them. Shame on all of you. I heard she was uninvited from Christmas after that. She sent me a text. Worth it. Stay strong. I cried for the first time in months. The coffee shop closed 4 months after opening. Marcus posted a long social media rant about how the community didn't appreciate innovation and how he'd been sabotaged by competitors. He didn't mention his complete lack of business experience or planning. He didn't mention burning through my college fund in 16 weeks. My parents' response was to comfort him publicly. You tried your best, that's what matters, my mom commented. The world wasn't ready for your vision, my dad added. Not a single word about the $12,000 that was gone forever. Not a single acknowledgement that their gamble had destroyed both Marcus's business and their daughter's trust. They just moved on to discussing his next idea, something about cryptocurrency again. I felt something snap inside me. Not rage, just a cold, final acceptance. These people would never change. They would never choose me. They would drain themselves dry for Marcus and expect me to cheer from the sidelines while I starved. The settlement conference happened on a gray morning in November. We all sat in a conference room with lawyers present. I hadn't seen my parents face to face in 7 months. My mother looked older, tired. She couldn't meet my eyes. My dad stared at me like I was a stranger. Marcus wasn't there. He's too upset, my mom said, as if that explained anything. Ms. Patterson laid out the case, the trust violation, the damages, the evidence. Their lawyer, a tired-looking man who clearly knew his clients were in the wrong, tried to negotiate. Payments over time, reduced amounts, apologies without admissions of guilt. I sat there listening to them try to minimize what they'd done. They're your parents, their lawyer said to me. They made a mistake. Surely we can work something out that doesn't destroy the family. I looked at my mother. Do you understand what you did to me? She flinched but didn't answer. I worked 3 jobs, I said quietly. I slept 4 hours a night. I skipped meals. I watched my grades drop because I was too exhausted to study, all while you were celebrating Marcus's coffee shop on social media. My voice didn't rise. I wasn't yelling. That made it worse somehow. My mom's eyes filled with tears. We thought you were okay. You never said anything. I shouldn't have had to, I said. You're my parents. You took money that my grandmother left specifically for me, and you gave it to Marcus without even asking if I needed it. You just decided I'd be fine. My dad shifted uncomfortably. We were trying to help your brother find his way. By destroying mine. The room went silent. Ms. Patterson slid a paper across the table. Full repayment of $12,000 plus interest and legal fees. Total comes to $16,000. Payment within 30 days or we proceed to trial. Their lawyer looked at my parents. My dad's face was red. My mom was crying openly now. I settled, agreed to the terms. The money would be wired to an account in my name within 2 weeks. Ms. Patterson had insisted on the tight deadline. Otherwise they'll drag it out forever, she'd said. She was probably right. As we stood to leave, my mother reached for my arm. Can we talk, please? I looked at her hand on my sleeve. She was wearing the bracelet I'd given her for Mother's Day 3 years ago. I'd saved for weeks to buy it. There's nothing to talk about, I said, not coldly, just factually. You made your choice, I'm just protecting myself. You're my daughter, she whispered. I'm the daughter you forgot about, I corrected. The one whose bedroom you turned into an office. The one you stopped inviting to family events. The one you decided was too capable to need love or support. You didn't treat me like a daughter. Don't expect me to act like one now. I walked out. She didn't follow. The money arrived in my account 13 days later, $16,000. I stared at the balance on my phone screen for a long time. It felt hollow somehow, like I'd won but lost something bigger in the process. I paid off my credit cards first. Then I bought groceries, real groceries, fresh vegetables and fruit and protein. I hadn't had a balanced meal in months. I quit 2 of my 3 jobs, kept the library position because I actually liked it and it was on campus. My grades came back up. The constant exhaustion faded. I started sleeping normal hours again. Physically, I recovered. But emotionally, something was different. I'd learned that family could be conditional, that love could be selective, that the people who were supposed to protect you could sacrifice you without a second thought if someone else needed something more. That was a lesson I'd never forget, and I wasn't sure if that was empowering or just sad. 6 months passed. I didn't hear from my parents at all. No apology, no attempt at reconciliation, just silence, like I really had ceased to exist to them. Marcus posted occasionally about his new cryptocurrency venture. My parents commented encouragement every time. The pattern continued without me in it. Aunt Diane checked on me regularly. She'd taken me out for my birthday, given me a card with money in it. Your grandmother would be proud of you, she'd said. Not just for fighting for what was yours, but for knowing your worth. I'd cried at the restaurant table, not sad tears, released tears. Someone in my family actually saw me, actually valued me. It was such a foreign feeling that it overwhelmed me. They might come around eventually, Aunt Diane had said carefully. They might realize what they lost. I'd shaken my head. I don't think I want them to anymore. That was the truth. I was done hoping they'd change. I graduated with honors. Dean's List every semester after getting the money back. I'd thrown myself into my studies with a focus I didn't know I had. Nursing was hard, but I was harder. Aunt Diane came to my graduation. She was the only family there. She took photos, cheered embarrassingly loud when my name was called, took me to dinner afterward. Your grandmother is watching, she said, raising her glass. She knew what she was doing when she put those conditions on the trust. I'd wondered about that, whether my grandmother had seen the favoritism while she was alive, whether the trust restrictions were her way of protecting me after she was gone. She told me once that your parents didn't see you, Aunt Diane continued. She said you were going to have to learn to see yourself. I think you've done that. I had. I'd learned I was capable of surviving without them. That realization was both freeing and lonely. I got a job at a top hospital in another state. Good pay, excellent benefits, opportunities for advancement. I moved 3 weeks after graduation. Fresh start in a new city where nobody knew my history. I made friends, real friends who actually showed up for me. I dated. I built a life that was entirely mine with no connection to the family that had written me off. Sometimes I looked at my parents' social media. I don't know why. Morbid curiosity, maybe. Marcus was on his 6th business idea, still living in their basement at 28, still being funded and praised for accomplishing nothing. My mother had posted recently about how proud she was of my entrepreneurial son who never gives up. Never gives up on spending your money, I'd thought. But mostly I felt nothing. Not anger anymore. Not hurt. Just a detached observation of a pattern I was grateful to be free from. They'd made their choice. I'd made mine. We were all living with the consequences. A year after graduation, my mom sent a Facebook friend request. I stared at it for a long time. Aunt Diane had mentioned they'd been asking about me, where I lived, what I was doing, whether I was happy. I told Aunt Diane she could share basic information, that I was fine. That was all they needed to know. The friend request felt like a test, like they wanted access to my life without actually earning it back, without apologizing, without acknowledging what they'd done. I declined it. Then I made my profile private. 2 days later, a letter arrived at my apartment, forwarded from Aunt Diane's address since they didn't have my new one, my mother's handwriting on the envelope. I almost threw it away unopened. Instead, I made tea, sat down, and opened it carefully. The letter was 3 pages long. It talked about regret, about missing me, about realizing they'd made mistakes, but nowhere did it actually apologize for taking the money, for choosing Marcus, for treating me like I was disposable. The letter ended with an invitation. Marcus was getting married. They wanted me there. Family should be together for important moments, my mother had written. I laughed out loud. Family should be together. Where was that logic when they were taking my college fund? When they were excluding me from holidays? When I was working myself into exhaustion? Family was important only when it was convenient for them. Only when they needed something from me. My presence. My forgiveness. My silent acceptance that everything was fine now. I wrote back, a short letter. I thanked them for reaching out. I said I'd built a good life and was happy. Then I said I wouldn't be attending the wedding. I've learned that family is about more than blood, I wrote. It's about showing up, about sacrifice, about actually seeing the people you claim to love. You taught me that by showing me what happens when those things are absent. I wish Marcus well in his marriage. I wish you both peace. But I'm not part of your family anymore. That was your choice, and I'm respecting it. I didn't send the letter. I wrote it, sealed it, addressed it. Then I put it in a drawer. Some things didn't need to be said. They already knew what they'd done or they didn't. Either way, explaining it again wouldn't change anything. Instead, I went to work. I took care of my patients. I grabbed dinner with friends. I lived my life without the weight of their dysfunction dragging me down. Sometimes healing isn't about confrontation or closure. Sometimes it's just about walking away and building something better. I'd fought for what was mine, and I'd won. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was learning that I didn't need their approval or love to be whole. I'd raised myself. I'd saved myself. And now I was thriving without them. That was the best revenge I could have ever gotten. Not hurting them back, but succeeding without them entirely. Living proof that they hadn't broken me after all. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. It's not easy sharing something this personal, but I hope it resonated with you. Here's something to think about. When is standing up for yourself worth more than keeping the peace? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own well-being? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Your stories, your perspectives, they matter. And remember, you're not alone in these struggles. This is King's Revenge Vault, where we share real stories about finding strength when life tests us. If this story meant something to you, please hit that subscribe button. Drop a like. Share your own experience in the comments. I read every single one, and your support keeps this channel going. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being part of this community. Until next time, remember, you are stronger than you think, and you deserve people who see your worth.